Hello and welcome to Alleyway Conversations. Once again, I'm Andrew.
And I'm still Patrick.
And we actually have a special guest again. It's Levi.
Same guest. Same guest, too.
Yeah. He was so excited about the last time he was here. He's like, hey, can I do another one of these?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Can I talk about video games again? Yeah,
I
totally.
do love me some games, so
Yeah.
we got quite the list here too.
Yeah, there's quite a bit going on.
In fact, before we go on, I do have some exciting news.
What sort of news do we have?
So, give us a week or two, and we will be broadcasting on YouTube, our podcast. We'll have another platform to be on.
That's right. So, if ever you, talk to your friends and you're like, yo, you gotta check out Alleyway Conversations, and they're like, what's it on? Oh, it's on Podbean. What's Podbean? Well, now you don't have that problem, because everybody knows what YouTube is, right?
Yeah, who doesn't use YouTube in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
And not only that, but we not only love talking about video games and stuff, we love to play them. Mm-hmm. So give us a month or two, and we'll even have some video game something on there for us to talk in front of as well.
Yeah, it is weird, because I do like talking about video games a lot more than I want people to see that I'm playing video games, because I suck at video games. But we're gonna do our best. It'll probably be fun either way.
I get to learn a new way to edit because I've never done video editing before, or splitting audio in video.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. I don't know how long this is going to take.
Yeah.
It might be a while, simply as a learning experience.
Yeah, and I've only watched people do audio editing, so even just watching any kind of video editing is new to me.
And now, as we start things off, horror video games.
Yeah, because it's still the spooky season.
And we are going to choke this to death.
It's my favorite holiday, so yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, after we get done with this, we're not going to be watching anything even remotely scary for a while. We've done this for a month now.
We are starting to get a little tapped out, but at the same time,
we're enjoying it.
The fact I've been doing it for 3 weeks straight is still a testament to how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
What about you, Levi? What do you like so much about Halloween?
I like the dress up mainly, the costumes, I like the gothic themes and imagery and whatnot. That tends to go into a lot of Halloween things. I mean, ghosts and whatnot.
Yeah,
well, I knew for a while one of your favorite movies of all time was Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Doesn't get more Halloween than that.
Favorite of all time. It's just a good one. It's my favorite Halloween / Christmas movie.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
I definitely feel like that needs to be mentioned, even though what can you say about Nightmare Before Christmas that hadn't already been said?
You mean by all the angry Karen moms back in the 90s?
Let's see here. It's a water-dwelling mammal that eats mostly krill. Nobody said that about Nightmare Before Christmas. It's not true, but nobody said it.
It's about a small boy coming to terms with morality. Really?
No, that was Frankenweenie. Another lovely Tim Burton classic. But
yes. But talking about the undead, the Call of Duty Zombies franchise.
Yeah, I actually never played a whole lot of Call of Duty. I had a roommate once that was really into Call of Duty. But I never got into it, so this is something I don't know a whole lot about.
So, Call of Duty Zombies. It definitely wasn't the first zombie game.
Most certainly.
But, I don't know. I think it's definitely the longest running series, and it's still going.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if we're talking zombies, strictly speaking, I'd probably say Resident Evil is the longest running in terms of from beginning to finish.
Well,
but there are a lot of zombie games.
Well, and I mean, I think it's worth special mention because Resident Evil is purely you buy Resident Evil to play Resident Evil. But at the same time, this is Call of Duty Zombie mode was just a side thing they thought would be kind of fun, and then it just became a tradition after that.
Yeah. It's massive.
Yeah, it's just something to do.
I actually bought the Call of Duty games, because I am not a first-person shooter, really, but I bought the Call of Duty specifically for zombies after World War.
I'm very specific when it comes to first-person shooters. Call of Duty was just not something I was interested in. I'm not big on military games.
So,
but then I found out later on they have zombies, and I mean, I love zombies. So
I have Call of Duty, one of them. It's got one of the second or third maps. The
Call of Duty, the one you kind of like a
well,
little
after
bit.
World
Yes.
at War, every I think it's Treyarch one, at least had some form of zombies on it, and it's all been kind of one mostly single story. There are exceptions to that, like in Black Ops 2 there was the Alcatraz map, and that one was on its own and awesome.
What was that one that had like Robert Englund and Sarah Michelle Gellar? There was like a...
that was Call of the Dead. That was a great map on the first Black Ops.
Okay.
is that the one that takes place in like the 1920s, and it's even got
it wouldn't
It's not
have Robert Englund in it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it has Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's not-
well, I remember it was one of those maps they actually got celebrities to come in and voice act. And
not just voice actors, the characters are them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because one of them is Mr. Caveman.
What?
Yeah, he basically played a caveman, but the joke was he didn't need. He played Hellboy.
Oh, Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman was in one. It was
He's
like the
in that
1920s or 30s. He's a gangster boxer.
Oh no, that's
I think.
on Black Ops 3. That's the first map on number 3.
He is.
'Cause I think it has Jeff Goldblum in that one too.
I think
Okay.
you're right.
I
Yeah.
love Jeff Goldblum.
Didn't it also have Bruce Willis?
I don't remember.
He had his own video game actually for the PS1. It was called Apocalypse, and it was really, really good.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a fun one.
So probably the most, I would say, Halloween themed Call of Duty Zombies map would be the one you guys were mentioning earlier, the Call of the Dead.
Oh, cool.
Because not only is it, well, it's called Call of the Dead, it has
Yeah.
characters from horror games in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Sarah Michelle Gellar, I mean the actors, I guess.
Yeah,
But it has George Romero as one of the main bad guys walking
Yeah,
around
yeah.
beating you with a lamppost.
That was actually for me. I just randomly ended up in a weird part of YouTube and found some cutscenes. And I'm like,
Honestly, I think you would prefer the Alcatraz one more than anything, because it's got
Because-
4 people that is
Gangsters.
quintessential in mafia movie actors.
oh yeah, and
I think one of them was like Joe Pesci or something.
I love
No,
Joe
I
Pesci,
don't
so-
think it has Joe
Yeah,
Pesci.
I cannot remember his name to save my life.
One of them died recently.
oh, Ray Liotta.
Yeah, he's one of the guys. in
Yeah.
it.
That's awesome.
That's kind of weird. Like the minute like a famous gangster actor died, I'm like, oh, it's gotta be Ray Liotta, right?
Well, so interestingly enough, Call of Duty Zombies has become so popular and so well received that I can't remember which Call of Duty game it was. It came out, I think, like 2, maybe 3 years ago. I have it.
Something
You
like
can actually buy just the zombie map pack, and it'll give you like a dozen of the most famous zombie maps that they've ever made that are the most popular.
That's
And
kinda cool.
basically, the Call of Duty's like, yeah, we have a Call of Duty game, and we're like, and yes, we have the zombie maps. Here you go.
Well,
You
recently
can be a
they've changed
badass
it up.
war hero. Yeah, but can I kill zombies?
Recently they changed it up though. They still have the zombie mode, but I don't think so, and I don't think it's related to the massive storyline they had back then. I don't remember.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
played one recently, so I don't actually know about that.
There are a lot of really interesting zombie maps.
is.
One of my favorite ones was what was it called again? The Trenches. Were you in World War One?
Oh, that's Origins.
One of my favorite. Cannot play it to save my life. Absolutely terrible at it. Levi could almost beat it, and it's like
Yeah.
you can. I think the earliest you can beat it is what, like wave 18, 19?
Something like that.
And amazing story. I mean, there's giant, like 50-foot tall robots. You have
Hell, they're
to.
taller than that.
Yeah, you gotta shoot a hatch in the bottom of their foot and let them step on you. And if you don't
Ow.
open the hatch, they'll crush you. And amazing story. It's got a lot of great actors. I don't know who does the Doctor, Dempsey, the tank driver, the Russian. All the voices are very well done.
I mean, at any point where a Russian's fighting zombies, I am sold.
All right,
I'm
well then.
into it. Yeah.
Well, you'd like Nikolai then. He's one of the main characters throughout the, I'd say the main series.
Oh,
He's
cool.
the one I always hope for. If I get anyone else, I'm slightly disappointed. Just if I could make it to where I'm always the Russian, yes.
Yeah, totally, man.
And he's always drunk. In fact, that's one of the things, like, as a zombie, he still needs vodka or something like that in order to, like,
when did
even
he
move
become
around.
a zombie?
Or not as a zombie, as a survivor. Because all the guys, based on the story, went through these weird tests that basically made them extremely loyal to the doctor. And they don't really know why. None of the guys do, and they're all trying to figure it out why they won't betray him, all these things. But, yeah, like, one of the things is he needs vodka or he'll just go mad.
See, and that
sounds like a Russian.
Which is why he talks about it all the time.
It actually kind of reminds me of when I was working in a nursing home. One of the residents actually had whiskey prescribed to him. Like, he had to drink at least a few glasses of whiskey a day, because he'd been drinking so much for so long, his liver would go into shock.
Oh, they didn't try to wean him off of it or anything?
No, they were just like, you know what?
I guess at that point.
Yeah, you know what? You're already dying. Just be sloshed.
It sounds callous, but really all you can do at a nursing home is make people as comfortable as possible.
You know, I had, when I was growing up, my mom had a friend, Kathy, hated the woman. And her boyfriend was...
She had a cool son, though.
Yeah, her name is Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy is almost as bad as Karen. Almost, but not quite. Karen's are still worse.
Cool son, though.
Yeah. We'll talk a lot about her family. You'll have heard us talk about Kevin. That's who we're talking about.
Yeah, he was a really good friend when we were in high school and when I was in my 20s and you were in college.
But yeah, apparently his mom's boyfriend, Tom, he was an alcoholic and used to smoke all the time, and he was trying to quit both of those because, it's not good for your health. And the doctor looked at him and said, whatever you do, if you're going to quit one, do not quit the other one. You will kill yourself or everyone around you.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, I'm going to quit drinking then. He goes, do not stop smoking. Wean yourself off of alcohol, and then once you stop alcohol completely, then wait like 2 weeks and then start weaning yourself off the other.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see you without both.
No. Honestly, I'm pretty sure, because there have been times where I've been short on money, I could probably quit drinking just because, like I said, there have been times I've been like short on money. And I just like, you know what, I have better things to spend my money on than beer. I do not think I could quit smoking.
Yeah. Been doing that since you were 12.
Yeah. So.
Call of Duty Zombies, again, one of my amazing series.
Oh, yeah.
It spans... Well, how many maps do you think they've made for this game so far?
Well, generally, there's like 5 per game.
And there's
made like 20 billion games. So.
Well, there's been at least the 3 Black Ops, World at War, like 2 of the Modern Warfares.
Those don't have the zombie mode.
They don't?
The same.
Okay. Modern Warfare. That was my roommate's.
From what I remember, yeah.
So I would say at least 25 to 40 maps, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, something like that.
And of course the one that I remember more than anything is Kino? That the movie theater?
Yeah, that's in the first Black Ops.
Yeah, that's the one that I remember more than anything. That's the one that everybody could run the gauntlet. It was great. I loved it.
It was a pretty good setup.
Never was good at it, don't get me wrong. You can love something and suck at it.
Hence why I play Metal Gear Solid so much. Yeah. I suck at stealth games, but by God, Snake's got great ass.
He's just got that smoker's voice that you just love so much.
Yeah, there is that. David Hayter, he has quite the voice on him. Yeah. So,
all right. So, how about Dead Space? I mean,
I've never played it. I hear it's basically Resident Evil in space.
Oh God, no.
So I kind of feel like I missed out with that in mind, but
like
at
I
the
said,
same time,
we'll have you play it when we get on YouTube and we start doing some video games. We'll have you play it because I want you to start swearing, and if you will not play a Dark Souls game, that is the best thing I can come up with.
I refuse because I played like 20 minutes of a Bloodborne game. I played enough Bloodborne to know I don't like Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's fine. So, Dead Space.
What is going on with Dead Space? There's zombies in space. I get that.
No, they're actually not zombies.
Oh boy.
So I cannot remember what they're called. I think they're called necromorphs. And the thing I loved about Dead Space is it almost tricked me into being an action game in space. Because I'm sorry, I don't. A good time to me is not scaring myself to where I piss in my chair. That is just not a good time to me. Yeah, whatever.
But the man who won't play Dark Souls.
Yeah, because I already know I don't like it. I'm just saying.
So,
like, if you guys do, that's cool.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
I'm a masochist.
Yeah, probably. In all of Dead Space, there is a obelisk that drives everybody around it insane.
Is it like the obelisk from 2001?
I don't know. I've never watched that movie.
Dude, I need to play more video games. You need to watch more 70s movies.
Apparently. So this thing is driving people insane, and when people are dying, it never really explains how or why, but the obelisks I don't know if it keeps them alive or transforms them. And you could call them a zombie, except, like, their hands will, like, explode off their bodies, and it'll just be, like, sharpened bones, and they'll stab you.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I hate to keep bringing it up because we are all Resident Evil'd out. We have said enough about Resident Evil. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like a reference material now.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, Resident Evil zombies got, like, really creative in their zombies.
The difference, I would say, the big difference is how you have to take care of your people. So in Dead Space, it's a third-person shooter, kind of like it was in Resident Evil 4. There are a lot of enemies. They're pretty much undead, like Resident Evil. The difference is in Resident Evil, you just pump enough bullets, or you use the Deus Ex Machina trap that's in the area to kill off everything. In Dead Space, you can't actually kill them. You have to dismember them until they aren't a threat anymore.
Again,
like,
you can really tell when I stopped playing Resident Evil, because that doesn't sound like Resident Evil to me.
Well, like in Dead Space, these necromorphs will start coming at you, and you can shoot them in the chest. It's not going to do anything. Instead, like your first gun isn't even a gun. It's a laser dissector something. It's meant to use on the space station to, like, weld metal and stuff like that, and you have to shoot their limbs off, blow their neck apart, to where they're eventually just limbs.
Why would it be called a dissector if it's used for welding?
I cannot remember what it's called. I played the game years ago. I beat it. I did enjoy it.
Okay, that's just your guess.
So I know this is kind of an offshoot what I'm about to talk about here, but there's a game that's kind of similar to this and similar to Doom, that I think is like a good bridge between the two. Mm-hmm. It's this game called Prey.
Oh yeah, I've heard a bit of it.
You're this Native American who gets, and you and some of your family gets basically abducted by aliens, and you're on board this ship, and you got to find your way around and whatnot, and you're dealing with creepy things. Like, these aliens are not normal, and I mean, what kind of alien is normal, I guess. Yeah. But, like, they're not a typical alien that you would see in a movie or whatnot.
Yeah, they're not the skinny, big-eyed gray aliens.
Yeah, but, like, the whole idea is, like, they don't need much light, and so, like, everything's dark when you're turning corners and whatnot. You can see the lights on the ship, but, like, for buttons and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, that's basically it. And so you're trying to survive, and the ship they have is slowly, like, depleting resources from Earth, and it's just absorbing them slowly in order to keep itself running.
You know, the whole Native American that gets abducted by aliens and you kind of got to fight them, kind of reminds me of Turok a little bit.
Yeah, no, keep that pause in.
Yeah, I was
like, it's two totally separate things, like, that's the whole thing. In the comics, it's expressed a little bit better, but, like, Turok, I forget the guy's actual name, it's Turok is a title. It's not an actual...
What does it mean? He who fights dinosaur people?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
But,
well, I just winged that.
Dinosaur beating badass.
But, no, it's like... He actually grew up in a world like that just got way more intense, if I remember right.
I honestly, I thought Turok was like ancient civilization people. Some aliens came down, like resurrected dinosaurs and gave them a little bit of a monkey brain kind of thing, and they just became smart.
Yeah,
I had no idea there was really a plot. I thought Turok was run around, find guns, shoot dinosaurs.
Oh, don't get me wrong. You can totally treat it like Doom and just be like, the plot is, I'm a guy with a shotgun, here's a velociraptor.
Everything deserves to die.
Yes.
So hello to my little friend.
Rip and tear.
Now I just need mountains of cocaine.
Which was what the Doom comic was made with. Like, it's pretty much printed into the pages.
So, what do we use to make this story? Just get solid cocaine and print it on that.
Yeah,
Get a really high guy to make some letters, and we'll figure it out. What those words mean.
I can't help but think, like, I cannot express to you the absurdity of the Doom comic. It just really does kind of feel like someone's like, okay, we got a sponsorship, it's with Doom, you might have played the games, what you got? Oh, man, so rip and tear your guts!
Just hang on, I gotta snort a big line of coke first. You know, actually, now that you mention it, one of the games we're going to talk about is Doom 3, because all the other Doom games are basically run, shoot, ripping enemies' head off and
there's
shoving
really
up their
not
ass.
much plot to it. It's great,
but the one outlier in this game. So remember how we talked about a couple episodes ago, video game. So we talked about how do we determine what series is a fall from grace.
Yeah.
And
I would definitely say Doom fits that.
And one of the ones that we were talking about is if you only have maybe one movie or one episode in something that is different, like if you have like 4 or 5 things that are good, one dip, and then you're right back up there, I wouldn't call that a fall from grace. I'm like, you tried something different, it didn't work, we're good with that.
Fair enough. I have that hope with Mass Effect. Like, Andromeda sucked, yes, but I'm really hoping they'll, like, get back to being good again.
Yeah.
And I think Doom definitely fits that. From what I understand, I've never played the reboot, but I personally...
I enjoyed it. I've played all 5 Doom games. The first 2 are very basic. I never got very far in them because I didn't find them until like 2005, and by that point they were really old.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really grow up with a computer. But you know, they were fine run and gun games, I would call them.
Yeah. And it is I was actually talking about that when I was growing up with a PC. I played a lot of really plot-heavy video games for the PC. And so Doom was actually kind of refreshing because the whole plot was, you're a guy with a shotgun, kill the monsters. Cool!
Sounds good.
Sorry,
Yeah.
we got on this whole thing, and for some reason I started thinking about a very parody version of this game. The Duke Nukem games.
Oh,
Duke Nukem's awesome.
Yeah,
I know, but it's
game,
definitely not horror. It's just hilarious.
Yeah,
it's a game
it's just a
full
good
of nothing but one-liners and boobs. That's about it.
Boobs, boomsticks, and handing money to strippers. I remember playing that game when I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah,
it was like the first game I did on PlayStation.
That's like the best game to play when you're like 12 or 13, man.
Right?
Because you're like right at that maturity level to find this fun.
Yeah.
Look at all the remember the Lara Croft titties on things? They're triangles. That's it. They're just triangles.
I remember
awesome.
being like, one time I was standing next to a stripper in Duke Nukem and I was handing a $100 bill. I just stood there for like an hour. I was like, how much money does this guy have? And then my dad comes in and tells me, he's like, they just keep, it's just keep doing
it's
it.
an infinite loop.
How did
I was like, what? Is he taking money from the strippers?
Yeah.
You know?
It actually took
I mean, this ain't Grand Theft Auto 5. You know, just beat up some hooker and take her money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I used to do that in San Andreas. Hey, thanks for the good time. Here's your money. And Run her down with the car. And thank you for the money.
It actually took me a long time to realize you have unlimited Mayan Snatcher as well.
Snatcher.
Yes, I love it, but we're going to save that for our Christmas games episode.
Oh, wow.
Because it's a Christmas game. Shut up.
Okay, I'll trust you. So, the first two games, Run and Gun. The last two games, I think the first Doom remake came out, I want to say around 2016.
That sounds right.
It was a great game. They upgraded the graphics. There is a story. You can completely ignore it if you want to, and just run around ripping off arms and shoving them up assholes and giving colonoscopies with someone else's arm.
Back to ripping and tearing demon guts.
Yeah. And
it's always fun.
The newest remake of Doom, Doom Eternal, if I remember, came out I think like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Yeah. Basically the same thing, except now instead of being on Mars, you're on Earth. There's a bit of a hub world. Ooh. They tried to expand it a bit, which on one hand is interesting. On the other hand, kind of takes away from what Doom is, which is here you are, here's a gun, we're going to run the other way, now shoot everything in sight.
Oh, yeah.
But Doom 3 is definitely the outlier of the series, because they basically... Doom 3, they tried to do a first-person horror survival thing. I remember flashlights, almost no weapons, and if they did have weapons, there was very, very scarce ammo.
So they essentially slowed the game down and made it harder to kill things.
Yeah, it was almost... Doom 3 was almost Dead Space or Resident Evil.
Yeah, I played about an hour of it because I was stealing Andrew's Xbox and it was on Game Pass. So I thought I'd try it out because I did love the original PC Doom games. And it was like... I kind of felt like Tord from Borderlands. Just like, that sentence had too many syllables. Apologize!
Interesting thing. So... Again,
they wanted to put a plot in Doom, and that was my my simple just you kill bad guys game.
Well, and it's not a bad thing. Like I said, it was interesting in Doom Eternal because it wasn't essential to the plot. In Doom 3, if you didn't pay attention to the trivia and stuff like that, you could miss essential clues. You could not figure out where to go. In the new Doom, it was run everywhere, shoot things, and hey, it's like the really quiet guy with glasses is standing behind you. Hey, I got a little plot here for you. If you want, I'll just set it here on the table. You can come back for it when you want.
You can read that if you want, but I mean, you can also get back to rip and tear.
Yeah, and to tell you exactly what I thought of Doom 3, it's not that it was a really bad game, but this came out when I was in high school. It was about 2005, I think, when I played it. I beat the game. Right. There was even a part 2 to Doom 3. It was like DLC, but DLC, it wasn't a thing really back then. So they just released extra content, and you just had to buy another disc for it.
Yeah. They did the same thing with the 2D GTA games.
Yeah, so I did that, and I didn't beat that one. I did get pretty far in it. And to tell you exactly how that game went, it probably took me a good 15-20 hours to beat the first game. I think I played about 8 or 9 hours into the part 2. I might remember I remember like 3 things in the entire series of Doom 3. I remember the main scientist gets the Deus Ex Machina hell item and goes from being a scientist and somehow polymorphs into a hell dragon. And that was the very end credit for part 1. Part 2 is hunting him down and killing him. And I remember a dark tunnel with a flashlight, and you had kind of like a Pip-Boy kind of thing, like a communicator on your arm. That was your menu. You read all the stuff on it. That was it. That's really the only thing I can tell you about Doom 3. I cannot remember anything else.
It is kind of weird how that works out, because like in any other game, I would see the end being where the main character turns into a dragon is just like, ugh, really? Come on.
But it's
But since it's Doom, I'm just like, yeah, totally.
actually
I'm always a dragon now.
Yeah, the reason why it was so memorable is even though he's completely a dragon, if he opens his mouth real wide, his human face will like pop up out of his throat like surprise, and can still talk to you.
Like the xenomorph like juts out or.
Yeah, except it's still a dragon head, but if he opens his mouth wide, the inside of his mouth is his human face. It's, completely random and stupid. And that's how if he wants to have a conversation with you, it's open mouth. Hi.
Not to bring back Resident Evil, but that reminds me of Irving.
Oh, yeah.
Number 5.
From 5, yeah.
I actually saw a couple
Freaking
of
taunts you and
cutscenes
laughs
of
at you while being like the tongue of some massive creature.
I'm some tonsils. Okay, man.
Yeah.
It's not how I want to live.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth. So Doom 3, very forgettable game. If you never play it, not a big deal. It tried to be a horror game. It tried to be scary. It was dark. You did the flashlight thing. It did jump scares. It did the whole noises in places. It tried to be a horror game. Did not do very good job.
Is that why the Doom movie had that part where it goes into first person for a little bit and he's out there killing stuff?
It did that as a homage to the original games.
Okay.
Yes.
I've actually never seen the Doom movie.
I know like this like 2-3 minute sequence where it goes into first person and shows everything like a video game would.
Yeah, he just runs through and starts shooting all the scientists that are turning into demons.
It is kind of weird. I was actually dating a girl whose sister was really into all the movies that were based off video games that I never wanted to watch.
So specifically, if you went to her house, you were watching bad movies that you had no desire to watch.
Yeah. That was the first time I watched the Silent Hill movie, and I hated it.
Well, if you played the games, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you read a book and then you see the movie. Games are very similar. It's like if you play the game and then you see the movie based off of the game, you're like, this is stupid.
Well, hey, we were Aragon fans in high school. We know.
I loved the book. Yeah. Oh, man, that movie made me so mad.
And we got so excited. Like, it was like my mom bought it for me and just left it while she went to work, and I came back. I came home from school.
I think we watched it together. Like
I looked at it in rapture, and I'm just like, I can't do this alone. I know Ogre's gonna want to watch this.
Yes, I did.
So we got over to your house, and like we had some popcorn, and we got all excited, and then we started watching, and we're like, oh,
yeah.
They took a few liberties with this.
A few. Well, no, and it wouldn't be so bad.
Those are really big liberties.
Yeah. And it wasn't even so much that we were just... we didn't even go, oh. I think, like, the first, 2 to 5 minutes, we were like, okay, yeah, we get this. You're and then it didn't go from that to, oh. I think the first thing they did was the first scene that really made us... It didn't even go from, like, gently taking its own liberties. It was, like, immediate and wall smacking, and I was like, what the fuck? No, rewind that. I did not just see that. There was no slight, gentle, okay, we know it's a movie, we know you have to do a little bit.
Yeah, no they were immediately we're cutting out all the cool stuff.
Yeah, so in the book, there's supposed to be... the dragon hatches, it grows up during the winter time, and towards spring, that's when stuff happens.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and here's the problem. You know, instead of having her like take off and try to learn how to fly, and like have her flying through the trees, and then they go from a summer shot to a fall shot, and then it shows snow, and we know it's getting to be winter, which would have been a great transition. No, he picks her up, throws the dragon into the air, his hand glows white, and all of a sudden she glows, and then poof, she's like 5 times the size. I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? I'm a little passionate about this.
So, in terms of spooky season, we're going to give you something very spooky. You know what's scarier than ghosts or zombies? Angry lit geeks.
Yes. Pissed off nerds. We can't do anything. By God, you'll hear about it. And Patrick's doing it correctly. He's drinking because who wants to listen to an angry nerd sober?
Oh, I know.
Although, speaking of Silent Hill, like we were a little while ago before my rant.
There were... I don't know, from what I understand, because everyone who has never played the games, who's watched the Silent Hill movie, says it's really, really good.
I've neither played nor watched.
It's an okay movie.
It's
I haven't played
probably
the games,
fine.
And it's an okay movie. It's not great, but I will say it's better than like other things that have done that, like the Resident Evil movies, for example.
Yeah,
better than those.
I'll give you that. We ended
I
up
still
being...
like the first two, and I like the animated Resident Evil.
Oh, those are great.
Leon, yeah.
I'm talking about like the change in universe though, because the animated games take place in the actual.
Well, look at
game universe.
But I mean, it kind of works for me. I've kind of processed it. It's just like, well, I have the games, and the games are really good, so I'll just keep playing the games and totally ignore the fact there were movies.
Well, it's like, look at...
It's easy that way.
In our very first official episode, we talked about DC movies, and I think it's the same thing. The real movies are garbage. The animated movies are great. Kind of the same with Resident Evil.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know about that, because
not
there
all
was...
not all of the movies are bad. Like the Shazam movie's really good.
Shazam is really good.
The first Wonder Woman's really good.
Well, yes, but I'm talking about back in like the 90s and before. The Batman movies.
Oh, before the DC universe.
Like Tim Burton Batman was good, and then you got like Joel Schumacher, okay, and then you got and then you got like Well, which one was the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger? That was Batman. And
Batman and Robin, yeah.
And so starts good and gets worse, and then you had the Superman movies, which accordingly, in what was that, the 70s when they started? The first one was good and got really bad, but as far as I can tell, the amount of DC movies that you can honestly say are terrible are very, very slim, whereas with the DC live action, until like, 2015, most of them were terrible or so goofy. You're like, no, this has to be a joke, right? This can't be a real superhero movie.
See, we didn't even prompt this. You just got angry on your own.
I know. I'm not angry. I'm just I'm just saying. For some reason, why is it? You know what? Stop. Whoever's making your live action movies, stop. Go to the animated department. It's like, hey, can you guys write me a script? You're obviously better than we are.
Well, no, Levi has a point. Like, the Shazam movie was really, really good.
And like I said, the newer movies for like the last 10 years have been really good.
See, I haven't...
Mostly.
We ended up watching Shazam and Aquaman, and I didn't hate either of them.
I hadn't shown him Wonder Woman yet.
I'm
kind of
curious
Second
about
one
it.
is
most
people
that,
call
70,
it trash.
74?
No, 84.
84, yeah.
It's very weird. I don't even truly understand the purpose. I haven't watched it. I know enough to go, why? So.
Yeah.
So Silent Hill, I know they made at least 4 games, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
They did. They made 4 games. There were... 1 is a classic, 2 is the one everybody knows and loves.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
3 I felt was a really good follow-up to the first one.
So, is 2 like a sequel to 1, or should it have been like 1, 3, and 2 takes place somewhere else?
It's kind of more like 1 and 3 are connected, and 2 was just some random guy who happened to stumble into Silent Hill.
And I'd even heard that 2 was so popular that they tried to remake 2 like 3 or 4 times to like capitalize on it.
Yeah, they ended up making a lot of games that feels like they're trying to be Silent Hill 2. I'm not crazy about that, but at the same time I understand that we do what works, and Konami definitely does what works. So I can't really be mad at it. I can be a little bit mad about Shattered Memories, but at the same time, that's only because it's innovative and nobody's done it before, it doesn't mean it's a good thing to do.
So which one was 4?
4 was the one that I feel was really underappreciated myself. 4 is kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily say the fan favorite, but it's got a niche audience.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. This is what I've heard about it. It has a niche.
So does 4 fit in the narrative of any of the other 3, or is its own game like 2 kind of was?
Well, it was originally going to be like its own standalone horror game, and you can kind of tell because like there's some paintings that were in the first Silent Hill game, and that is as close as you get to the to Silent Hill the town.
Wait, what? I thought 1 actually took place in Silent Hill. You just never saw it because of all the fog.
Well, no. The first one did take place in Silent Hill. But 4 takes place in... I cannot remember the name of the town. But at the same time, it's not Silent Hill.
Okay. So it takes place somewhere else, and there's pictures in 4 that show the town from 1? Okay.
But it does dwell on the same themes of alternative realities that have a lot to do with the inner psyche of the person there.
Reminds me of the Darkness video games, 1 and 2. I have not played them in such a long time that I feel like if I talk about them, I'll lie. And say bad things about them, so I'm not going to. But you dive deep in and out of, is this real? Is this fake? Am I in a nursing home or institution, or am I fighting off demons in hell? Because that's what you do in the game.
Well, there's some really good horror games out there, and indie. I'd have to say the horror games from indie. There's a lot of YouTubers who review horror games, and there seems to be some really good stuff out there. But I don't play them because I'm not a horror fan. But the one that I would say that I grew up playing, it was on the GameCube, if I'm not mistaken. Do you guys remember, I want to say it was called Eternal Darkness?
Yeah. That was actually a really good game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you start off in a house, you have to figure out these clues.
Yeah.
You end up traveling back in time to, like, eldritch horror.
Yeah, I was going to say,
there's a basement that leads into a... I don't know.
Yeah.
Your mansion, you go into the basement and there is, I don't know, like Dracula's castle down there or something.
Yeah.
Very strange game. One of the few horror games I ever played that I really enjoy and would love to play again. Be more than happy to.
So I'm going to put just a little thing in here. When you were talking about that, I thought of a game that is not only not on our list, but I feel embarrassed that we didn't even think about it. Luigi's Mansion.
I mean,
it's not a horror game per se, but it would be a horror game for little kids.
It's definitely like a Halloween game.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely fun to play for Halloween, kind of like Until Dawn sort of encapsulates the whole teenage slasher movie thing. That encapsulates more of like a... like the trick-or-treating thing, like you're that age.
You're kind of a Ghostbuster.
And I could easily...
you are a Ghostbuster.
It's a great game. It's definitely not scary in any sense of the word. It is kind of tricky. I enjoy the game, but you're right. When in the context of horror or even slightly scary, never would have thought of it in a million years.
Well, I mean, it's got all the elements. It's got Haunted Mansion. It's got ghosts.
I mean, you were just talking about it, and you brought up Mansion. You brought up... it being dark, and you brought up things like ghosts and whatnot, and I was like, how did we not...
Eternal Darkness's best sequel was Luigi's Mansion.
That's right. Perfectly wonderful. Somebody get a vacuum cleaner. We'll get those eldritch abominations out of here.
Come help us out here.
That's right. So Silent Hill 4, was that the last Silent Hill that came out?
That is no. There were quite a few. There was Homecoming. There were Shattered Memories. There was something I know I'm forgetting about, but I cannot think of what it is. But the big thing is that the original 4 were created by Team Silent over in Konami in Japan. And from that point on, I don't know what happened, but they transferred everything over to Konami of America. And they kickstart Origins. I'm thinking of Silent Hill Origins. But that was the one I didn't mention.
Well, the reason I ask is, like I said, one of the most horrific things I've ever seen was PT. I know it was a trailer for a Silent Hill game.
And it actually was. It had a lot of promise.
Which Silent Hill was it supposed to be a trailer for?
Well, it was supposed to be, I'm guessing, for some kind of reboot or reimagining, but like better than Shared Memories.
So PT came out, and then they never ended up releasing the game that it was originally based off of, or something.
No, they originally wanted to make a Silent Hills. Which again was supposed to be like a reboot or reimagining.
Okay.
They had a lot of really cool people in on it. I can never pronounce his name. Guillermo del Toro, the guy who made like Pan's Labyrinth and shit. Guillermo?
Okay. Something like that.
But yeah, they had him working on some of it. They had Hideo Kojima, who made the Metal Gear games. That was really, really good. They had Norman Reedus from Boondock Saints, or this dumb zombie show I heard about. But
which, the fact that they never made this does surprise me, because I remember when PT came out.
Oh yeah, people
everybody
were losing
was
their
talking.
minds.
Yeah,
because
they could have released PT and charged for it, and people would have bought it. It's like a 10-minute game if you just kind of run in the circle like you're supposed to.
Well, and I mean, we'd had quite a few moderate to bad Silent Hill games, and this actually looked really, really good.
Oh, it was it was terrifying. It's nothing but hallway, turn, hallway, door. Oh. That's it.
So for a series that seemed to, as you guys had talked about, plummet, this would have been like the redemption.
Yeah, it would have like totally saved.
Because I don't remember any of this, but there was a long time where I wasn't really in games or anything.
If you're ever curious, look up PT gameplay on YouTube. You will find they do not offer PT trailers anymore. You can't, as far as I know, you cannot get PT anywhere.
Yeah, honestly, they could even Konami could like re-release it on like the PS5 and actually charge.
I would be more than happy to spend $5 or $10 on this. Yeah. And again, you could beat it in like 20 minutes. But it's amazing graphics, amazing ambiance, the atmosphere, everything. I don't think anyone says the only thing that you really hear word-wise in the background is the radio. Yeah, and it tells a story of like somebody murdering their family.
Yeah, it's
and I think you're in the house where everyone got murdered.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Oh, there was also Downpour. I forgot about Downpour. That was actually one of the better. It's like the top of the bottom of the barrel. Like it was good, but like compared to the original 4, it's fine.
It's a game. It exists. I didn't crap all over it. That's the best you're gonna get.
Yeah, I didn't hate it as much as even Origins, but at the same time, I didn't love it as much as I loved Silent Hill 4.
So Silent Hill PT. I really wish they had made that game, because whatever they would have made off... I say that, I don't know if what PT would have been based off of would have been as good as PT, but all of the elements were there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, everything was in place. Everything looked really good. It felt really Silent Hill. And then, like, they were just like, no, we're not making this really cool game that everybody's excited about. And Hideo Kojima left. Hideo Kojima left Konami and then made Death Stranding, which it had Norman Reedus in it, but it wasn't that good.
Yeah. So, I think that's enough about Silent Hill, because I feel like you can go on for that for a while if you want to.
Oh, if I wanted to, yes. But
so here's one that... So basically every game on this list, each of us has played it or not played it, but there's only one game on this entire list that every single one of us has played at least one iteration of, and that's...
Castlevania.
That's right. And I'm not a huge Castlevania fan. Even I played it, but I didn't know what it was when I did.
I was a big fan of the 2D games, but...
And I enjoyed the 3D games.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You cannot tell me you enjoyed the 3D games on the Nintendo 64.
I've never even realized that was a thing.
Good, because they shouldn't exist, and they're the worst games on the planet.
That is correct.
Nobody's going to argue with that.
Well, it's so bad when you can say, you look at these games, and they came out at the same time as Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time. And
Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah,
And
there are so many good games that came out, and then it's like, oh, it looks kind of similar, but the camera is always wrong. The buttons are stupid.
Yeah, I've seen gameplay of it, and I'm just like, if it's that hard to watch,
So
I do not want to play it.
So honestly, unless you've been hiding under a rock, basically since gaming started, everybody at least knows Castlevania. It's a Netflix series.
I've
I don't
never
know
seen
if
the Netflix series. Is
it's
it good?
It's good. We will watch
Okay.
it this Halloween. I
Totally.
promise.
Thank you.
So Castlevania, the TV series, is amazing. They've been on, as far as I know, every game system from the original NES to, as far as I know, the brand new gaming consoles that came out like a year ago, the PS5 and the Xbox X, doesn't have one on it yet. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yet.
Well,
Give it time.
There's a lot of games
It's a very
that
enduring series.
are like both on the PS4 and the PS5 right now because we're still very early on in the PS5's life cycle.
So, and I know, so I don't think we need to describe Castlevania simply because the original games all kind of followed the same plot. Castle Dracula is up, go through it, beat the bosses, kill Dracula, and force him to slumber for the next, what, generation?
One does that. Two, you got to split up and you go to different castles because you're finding his parts, his body parts, and you're destroying those.
Don't you have to basically resurrect Dracula so you can kill him?
Kinda. 3 is a prequel to all the games. I'm pretty sure if, in the timeline it would be the first in the series. It's the first time anyone ever fought Dracula.
You're not the same Belmont.
No, throughout the series you change people a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's 4, which came out on the Super Nintendo, which is a remake of the first game.
And I heard good things.
Really good, yeah.
It's generally considered one of the best ones. There were a couple more on the Super Nintendo. There's the one that has a really, really long name. Dracula X, but the Japanese name.
Blood, I think it is.
It's like Super Castlevania, Death.
Yeah, there's
Rondo of Blood, and just like jeez,
it's not a title so much as a sentence.
Yeah, it is the description of the game.
Is a paragraph like Castlevania 4 Konami presents.
Yeah, but it's important because that is the prequel to Symphony of Night, which many people consider the best game.
I don't know if I'd call it the best, but it's definitely the most widespread, and it's definitely the biggest Castlevania game.
I will
biggest
say,
2D especially.
Yeah. I've never played Symphony of the Night. Almost every list of Castlevania, if it's not number 1, it's like number 2.
Well, 4 is generally considered one of the best. Symphony of the Night is considered one of the best.
I'd vouch for that. Yeah.
There's one of the 3D ones that came out a while back was really good too. The only thing I don't like about the newer games is they're very God of War-ish, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I'm not really.
I've played the
that kind of game.
I have the 360 Castlevania games for the Xbox 360, and I do enjoy them. I love the story because this tells the story of how Dracula became a vampire. Because when you first play as Dracula, he's human. And it's a very interesting tale of how it happens. I really enjoy it.
Fair enough.
So, other than Symphony of the Night, which, I feel like if you know anything about Castlevania, you know that one. What is your guys' favorite Castlevania game and why?
I'm going with Levi with this one. Castlevania 4 would be like my second best.
It is a very good game. And I don't like always quoting other people, but a lot of people say it's because of the control. You remember the AVGN video? That's the reason he says it.
It feels a lot more fluid, but
of course he transitioned from the original.
Yeah. The
original 3 to that, and it's like you got the rickety almost movement compared to everything moving smooth.
3 was like weird.
It was good and hard.
Yeah. Well, just because you get to newer consoles doesn't mean it's better. Because remember, you went from that to the N64, which should have been better, and instead you got Castlevania 64.
Well, to
but
be fair,
I still feel like the step between, try to picture yourself as like a 9-year-old finding out about NES for the first time, and then you find out, oh my god, they have an even bigger console. It's the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of blows your mind with how how much better the graphics are.
The graphics, the music, the gameplay.
Yeah, the music was really good.
Castlevania has always been good with music.
Well, fair enough, but like...
Except for the ones that we don't really want to talk about, the 64 ones.
And see, talking about that, I've never really played the 2D Castlevania games. The first Castlevania game I ever played is still my favorite. It was on the original Xbox. It was Castlevania Curse of Darkness.
It's a good one.
Again, the graphics are better than the 64 at least. Still early disc graphics, you can tell. Yeah. It's very dark. It's got a lot of repetitive graphics on it. It's not very pleasing. But it's still really good. I mean, I don't even think... You don't play Dracula, Alucard, one of the Belmonts, none of those. If I remember correctly, you actually play one of Dracula's minions. Cannot remember what his name is. He's the one who controls the...
Is it Orlax?
No, he controls the anvil. The soul anvil, I think it's called.
Something like that.
Basically, he's the one who can take... something. It never really says what he uses as raw material, and he uses the anvil to create the demons that Dracula uses in his army. He creates them. And I don't understand the backstory. Like, at this point in time, Dracula's already dead. A lot of his minions have run amok, and he's trying to get the anvil, I think, to bring someone back to life, or they're trapped somewhere. I don't know. But it's an interesting game. You have a dozen weapons. You have a little follower who you level. It kind of reminds me of Pokemon a little bit. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I was at that age when I still really enjoyed Pokemon. Yeah. Hey, I use this weapon to kill enemies. Because I use this specific set of weapons and I gained experience, it goes to my follower. And it has an evolution tree. And depending on how I evolve him, he gets different abilities.
That's it. That's the thing about Castlevania I was thinking of. So the one problem I have with probably from Symphony of the Night including, and so on, is almost nothing they've done since before that is original.
Yeah.
Like all their side-scrolling stuff, I mean, if you want to say, well, it's a side-scroller, well, I mean, you got a lot of games that are, but it was very different. It was, one, hard. Two, and there was good story and creatures and everything, different enemies, and difficulty varied throughout. I mean, it's not like, the Super Mario games where it gets harder as you go.
It's a 2D action scroller, but it's like a really good one.
Yeah. But since Symphony of the Night and on, they've kind of just copied what other people have done for the most part.
Well,
and different.
And I will admit,
elements,
I do love Symphony of the Night. It honestly is my favorite Castlevania game. But that's also because I really, really like Metroid, too.
Metroid is almost, I would say, almost a horror-type game. Almost.
You could argue it has elements.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's not jump scares or anything, but you're in space, you're by yourself, which is generally a very big indicator of a horror game.
Yeah.
And you got to defeat enemies far bigger than yourself and far more powerful through, luck and skill.
Yeah. They even have a little bit of gross out stuff, because, there are some of those enemies, they're really nasty.
Like Mother Brain?
Yeah, Mother Brain's pretty gross. Remember Crocomire?
No. I've also never really... The only Metroid game I played was, I think, Metroid Prime for the GameCube. Yeah. It was a good game, but...
It was good, don't get me wrong. It's just, I feel like...
hell, did you guys... if you guys ever had Nintendo Power, the year it came out, which I think was the first year of the GameCube, it got first in, every category it was in, except for one, and that was music. And it lost, and it got second to Super Mario Sunshine.
You know what? That's like a gracious loss, because Super Mario Sunshine.
And the only reason that game got one is because Wind Waker didn't come out till the following year.
And that also had a really good soundtrack.
Metroid just honestly kicked ass that year, because not just Metroid Prime, Metroid Fusions, the Game Boy game, won almost all of the handheld awards. Yeah. And I was like, geez, is Metroid just everything? And then I had Metroid Prime. I was like, yes. It is a great game. So, especially for its time.
I know Castlevania still puts out some 2D scrollers. I think they were usually for the 3DS, and I'm assuming they've got a lot of ones for the Switch. When was the last time you heard of a Castlevania come out? An actual one, and not just one that's just been kind of revamped and brought with better graphics and stuff.
There was also, I can't really say that because Konami's busy doing
Pachinko
other things, yes. I will say the original creator for Castlevania ended up with, something. He did end up making a video game that's very reminiscent of the 2D Castlevania games.
Is it because since he's not with Konami, he's not legally allowed to call it Castlevania? Though it
exactly.
Is? Oh, just like Hideo Kojima. I am the creator of Metal Gear Solid, and I will create a Metal Gear Solid lookalike, but I can't actually call it Metal Gear Solid because Konami.
Yeah, but Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid games were actually good.
So. I know, yeah. We won't talk about the new one.
Yeah, meanwhile, Death Stranding was...
Well, heck, look at Left 4 Dead. There's one... So we have Left 4 Dead, and now there's a game out there called, I think it's like Back 4 Blood. It's basically Left 4 Dead, but the game studios like split or something, so they legally can't call it that.
Well,
but they got the 4. They got the 4.
Yeah, there's a 4 in there still.
Same thing.
Well, it also helps that Valve can't count to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I always heard Half-Life, the only reason Half-Life is still a thing is because Steam has basically stood back and like, you know what? Unlike Pokemon and anything to do with freaking Disney or Nintendo properties, they're like, you know what? If fans want to make their own stuff, we'll let them do it. It keeps our name alive. Whereas, I remember this joke about this kid, was talking about how he couldn't afford a Game Boy when he was growing up, so his dad made him one out of cardboard and basically had Super Mario Brothers, and it was just a little thing, and somebody
didn't they actually make like a little Nintendo thing that was like made out of cardboard and you could like form it into...
Yeah, it was literally just cardboard and paper, and they made the joke. Nintendo executives looked at that and went, "Oh, that's so cute."
And then make our own thing that's the same thing.
Hey, remember the cardboard factory for the Wii? They basically did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I forgot what it was called.
I thought there was a Paper Mario reference there, but...
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there was that too.
They have a couple of Super Mario games. They're really good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, Castlevania, it's a good series. They kind of went all over the place.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a scary or, like, horror series, but it's definitely Halloween. I'd probably say
maybe the first few games were more horror-oriented.
Yeah.
Just because of the enemy types, not, like, jump scares or, actually trying to scare the hell out of you.
Well, it's definitely a Halloween game. Yeah. That's all I'm trying to say.
And honestly, ever since the 2 Castlevania games that came out on 360, I don't think I've heard them make another Castlevania game. They might have made something for the Game Boy, but...
They've made some handheld ones that... I cannot remember the names of any of them, but not a whole lot.
I think they came out close to around the same time, but... Right.
Yeah, honestly, there was like Circle of the Moon and Harmony of Dissonance?
Yes.
That sounds familiar. That came out on the 3DS, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And they were fine. They were okay. But I don't think we'll ever be able to capture that, like, feeling of, like, putting this crazy Halloween game into your NES for the first time. And
no.
Oh, my God. It was so frustratingly hard, but God, it was fun.
See, and that's how we feel about Dark Souls, and we know you'll never do it.
Yeah, no. I'm
extremely stiff learning curve there.
Very.
I feel like I'm just too old to play, like, those frustratingly hard games. You know what I mean? I just don't want to. I play video games. I want to relax.
Well, to me, there's nothing more satisfying than getting to those super hard bosses. Because there have been some that me and Levi have got on there on Elden Ring. And it's just an hour or two later, and we're just, oh my God, just die. We've spent, like, a lot of resources to kill you. Because in order to summon people in, you gotta spend resources. Yeah. And we're running down into the single digits, and we're like, we need this to happen. And after 2 or 3 hours, you finally succeed, and you just wanna like spike the controller into the floor.
So I totally thought his sentence was going to go a different direction. He was like, you get to a boss and I really thought he was going to say, and then you have Levi carry you through it.
hey, Levi's the frontline fighter. I'm the mage. I sit in the back.
I'll do whatever I want, Andrew.
Yeah, I'll sit in the back with my wand and go pew pew. Yeah, I'm doing something. Pew.
I will admit, like, up until recently, I've seen both of you guys play Elden Ring. I honestly thought Levi was the cooler one to watch. And then you found a spell to where you can hurl a fucking planet at people.
Woohoo! I have 2 spells where I can hurl a freaking planet at people.
Yeah, so that's like the ultimate flex. Like, I hate you so much, I'm going to hurl a heavenly body directly at you.
Oh, he's just trying to be like Thanos. Trying to be all cool, throwing moons at people.
Thanos threw moons at people? I don't remember that part.
In Infinity War, he throws a moon at Tony Stark and he goes, if you throw a moon at me again, I'm going to be upset.
I haven't seen Infinity War, but no, he has actually, like,
goes,
in the comics,
uses the
thrown
Infinity
planets
Gauntlet,
at people,
gets control of the moon, tosses it
I
down.
do kind of remember. I don't know.
It breaks into pieces when it's going in through the atmosphere, but he still hurls the moon at you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not calling you a liar, it's just I do not remember that part.
Yeah.
Alright, well, we're trying to keep our episodes under an hour. We have failed miserably, but I had fun.
Well, we don't know that.
I mean, we didn't mention Bloodborne, but we'll just say it's Dark Souls with a lot more H.P. Lovecraft in it.
Yeah.
A lot more, I would say, better horror, gothic elements in it.
Yeah, but I never got out of the starting town. Patrick played like 30 minutes and quit, and I don't think you've ever played it at all.
I played Bloodborne.
I've walked around the opening area.
Yeah.
I played Bloodborne enough to where I know I don't like these games.
It's a good game, I get that, and there's nothing wrong with it, but
well, I can't really hate people
I miss my shield.
for. Well, and I will say I can't really hate people for liking something I don't. Like, great, you see brilliance where I just get frustrated and don't want to play anymore. We all torture ourselves in different ways. I do so with spicy foods and whiskey, and you guys do so with frustrating video games, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I think we had a good time today.
It was a pleasure, gentlemen.
It always is with you around.
That's right.
It sometimes is with Andrew around.
Oh. All right.
Well, he just doesn't have our Sonic the Hedgehog. What was the other game we were talking about, Vaughn?
Oh, crap.
Early games that you liked. I know that.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh man, that's a tough one. You've got a lot. Oh,
Yeah,
Legends
yeah.
of Dragoon. That's something all 3 of us love so much.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun.
Was it Resident Evil or something?
Well,
Final
there was
Fantasy
Resident
9?
Evil 1. I did like that.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 9.
That's what it was.
Oh, yeah.
That was the other game that you and I are really like this on.
I'm down with it.
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't call it my favorite game, but I did enjoy it. It was a lot better than...
It's probably my favorite JRPG.
You need to play Roddy Odyssey.
Yeah.
That is a fantastic and very funny game. Like, oh man, that game, it'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll get every part of you. Like, one of the main mechanics in the game is going around kicking stuff to get items and whatnot. Instead of searching per se, you just kick something. Well, you can kick people too. And like really piss
Get
them
all
off and
their
make them fight you.
stuff.
I like it. Alright. Well, I think that'll be enough for today. So, Levi, thank you again. We'll have you on a few more times, and next week, join us as we go into the horror, not horror genre.
Yeah, Halloween movies that aren't necessarily like actual horror movies.
Like, a good example. What about the original Hocus Pocus movie? Which I'm thinking of because Hocus Pocus 2 just came out. We will not be talking about it.
Yeah, from what I understand. We haven't seen it, but we are under the understanding it's not particularly good.
That's right. All right, and that'll be the end of this podcast. Once again, I'm Andrew.
And I'm still Patrick.
And I'm special guest Levi.
Yeah, sure.
Special
Again,
guest.
always a pleasure.
Yeah, you keep doing schlock like that, though, and we're going to blacklist you. No,
No,
we
we're
love
gonna
you.
put him in more episodes
Ah,
if he
good
keeps
point.
doing something cheesy
You don't
like
have any
that.
friends.
You're right.
You do, Patrick, but
No,
You-
I have one friend.
Yeah.
But
it's me.
So,
it's Levi,
yeah. So once again, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we can't wait for you to listen next time.
Yeah!
Hey everybody, Andrew from Alleyway Conversations here. Just letting you know we do have a Patreon page and we would love to have you join. Whether just to look for updates, release schedules, or if you'd like to support us, we would be happy with anything and everything you can do for us. I know me and Patrick would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a wonderful day.